Hi friends. So it's been a little bit since I talked about WoW, but I think it's time that I share my thoughts on what's happening in Midnight with Fire Mage. I've had the chance to play with it a little bit over the past couple days. Just on target dummies, again, I haven't really interacted with the spec much. I don't know why I said much. I haven't interacted with spec at all at max level yet. I don't really know how much is going to change aside from the fact that you have way less stats, right? You're going to have less haste, you're going to have less crit, you're going to have less of everything due to the way stat scaling works in the game, right? The higher your level is, the less each stat is worth. So at max level we're going to have less of that. But we're also going to have a couple extra talent points, right? So the vision that I kind of have right now is you're going to have more or less the spec I have right now, but with, Pyroclasm or one of these other side talents selected on top. The main criticism I have right now, and it's again, everything is a little bit buggy, so it's kind of hard to set it's hard to see exactly what Blizzard wants the spec to look like 100%, but I can kind of get their vision right. It's essentially something kind of similar to the way it is in War Within, except without kindling, so you don't have to farm anymore for your combustion, and you don't have Phoenix Flames anymore, which is an annoying button that a lot of people struggle to get used to playing with. It's really annoying. It requires you to either stand really close or really far from the target, where you can have 3 heating ups in the air at the same time instead of 2, which is annoying. Don't disagree, that's a good change. And I think in large part, actually, a lot of the changes are, I kind of see what they're trying to do. Oh my god, the Iron Fortune horn just completely ruined my ears. But I see what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to make the spec a little bit more accessible, a little bit more of a damage profile that isn't as flat as it is on live, right? It's a very flat profile that is dependent on you having combustion uptime, and they're just trying to change that, right? But I also think the spec, at least when you're not in combustion, feels like a classic spec. You're really just pressing Frostfire Bolt and pressing Fire Blast when it crits and spending the hot streak. That's really all you're doing until you get Meteor, and then you're going to be pressing Meteor, and then you're going to be going back to doing the exact same thing, right? Right now there's a bug with Meteor where you can instant cast Frostfire Bolts infinitely until the flame patch on the ground goes away from the Meteor. I think it's a bug. Pretty sure this is not going to be how it works. I think it's got to do with an interaction here that gives you this one Frostfire Empowerment, where it gets you it procs the Frostfire Empowerment from the fire on the ground. I don't think that's supposed to happen, but it's happening right now. But yeah, that's obviously not intended. And if we take that out of the spec, for 45 seconds outside of your combustion, you are simply pressing Frostfire Bolt, waiting for a crit, and pressing Fire Blast and pressing Pyroblast. That is all you're going to be doing. There's obviously you're going to be doing the small optimization where you want to chain them, right? So you have higher chance of not munching heating up. There's some very, very small optimizations you can do, but it's pretty simplistic. For a large, this is 66% of your gameplay is just going to be this on single target. Just pressing Frostfire Bolt and reacting with Fire Blast on your heating ups. I think personally that is not enough gameplay for a retail spec, and I want one extra mechanic. I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe with a tier set, maybe with an extra button, maybe with something. I'm firmly in the opinion that this right now, in combustion, it's fine. I don't really have that much of a problem with it. It's fine. You get your fired ups and they're gonna reduce your cooldown on your Fire Blast. It feels okay when you're in combustion. With Pyroclasm, it's gonna, right now it's not worth taking. Maybe it's worth taking if they change the numbers a little bit. I think Frost Fireball is probably overtuned, just does too much damage. But even with this, I really don't see it, like, it's just not enough. It's not enough juice, in my opinion. So they can come up with their own solution. I'm not telling them that they have to use mine, but the solution that I've made is for the return of a spell that has existed in WoW for a long time, had many iterations, but I think we need something like this, something that can interact with another part of the class, right? So in this version of Living Bomb, it would be basically you use it. The cooldown isn't that important. I just think it should be something that you have to do a couple times between your combustion windows. And it's going to be a debuff you apply to the target, maybe like probably a dot that does very low damage. This is not what you're doing it for. It then sets up that you can detonate the Living Bomb with use of one of your Pyroclasms, either a Flame Strike or a Pyroblast. The Pyroblast is going to do single target. The Flame Strike is going to do AoE. And you can also do it with Meteor, because I don't want to force you to press Flame Strike if you're playing a build that doesn't really want to press Flame Strike. I think you should have an option to do it with Meteor instead. And that's how I would do it, because I think looking at my bars, right, I used to have stuff on every single button in the past, and now I have basically no, like, I've got a lot of empty space, and I think just one extra button, it doesn't have to be that big. I'm not asking for Phoenix Flame specs. I'm just asking for like one extra thing you can do to fill out the gameplay a little bit, because 66% of the gameplay being Frost Fireball and Fire Blast and Pyroblast is just, it's just too much where you're doing very little. So yeah, that is how I would fix it. I think in large part, just talking a little bit more about Mage, I'll make this very brief. Probably a good thing that we have less defensives. Now, basically all we have is a barrier, our alter time, and our ice cold. The rest is like utility, right? Mirror image, no longer defense. Like, it's not a defensive in the sense that it reduces your damage taken. It's only a defensive in the sense that you can still use it like you would in M+, like before pulls, to make sure that if you get snap aggro, you don't die to melees. It still does that. Great Anvis, it's just a button to, I guess you can still use it as a vanish. I'm guessing that's still a thing you can do, right? So you can still like avoid casts in M+, not in raid. Avoid casts that are targeted on you with Great Anvis, so that's still going to be pretty useful. But it's, unless you take this, it's not really going to be a button. Like, you basically have to take 4 things that makes it worth taking, I think, in raid. But you do have talent to work with, so I don't think that's the end of the world. Yeah, in large part, good changes, I think, actually. I think a lot of people, myself included, overreacted to just reading the notes. And I think playing with it, it doesn't feel nearly as bad as I thought it would. But I still think 66% of the gameplay is just not fleshed out enough. And we do need one more thing going on. One extra mechanic. My suggestion is the Living Bomb thing, but you can also make it something else. Maybe a highly interactive tier set, or an extra mechanic in the base spec. I don't know. This is just my suggestion, and I hope this gets seen by somebody that can share it with a developer at Blizzard. Yeah, that's all I'm going to be saying today.